Thank you all for coming. We're going to talk about building a mate. So this is going to be an interesting topic because I think it's definitely necessary for the climate. So we have COVID days, we have people in relationships during this time, and so we're going to talk about like the ins and outs of relationships. So I'm going to just go down the line and have guests present themselves and what they do, and say one thing why you're excited to be here.
My name is Ariel. I'm a wardrobe stylist, photographer, and director. I'm excited to be here because I just feel like this conversation needs to be had. I see like different groups of people in here, so I'm looking forward to see like other people's opinions on it.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Tyra Scott. I am an attorney. I'm also have my own company. It's called Year 3000 BC. The BC stands for Before Colonizers. As you can see, I have on my merch niggas because it's important that we change NI to NE. Also, I'm an author. I have a children's book called Mommy, Mommy, Why Am I So Different? It's about self-esteem as well as Black diaspora history. It's at Target, Target online at target.com, as well as my website, year3000bc.com. And I'm excited to be here with this great group of panelists because I think it's so important that African Americans and Black people in general, we have a dialogue with each other as far as how to work and how to maneuver between the male and the female. So.
Okay, I'm all here for that introduction. Shout out to all my ladies that are doing great things. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Mia. I'm a licensed clinical therapist. I'm the owner of Virtual Consulting. I specialize in Black men's mental health, specifically with trauma treatment, and as well as racial trauma. So I also too have a brand, Virtual Consulting, and under that brand I have a Black Therapists Matter because Black therapists only make up 4% of the population. And so I wanted to change that stigma so that African Americans have access to resources. So I'm going to then turn it over to you so that you can introduce yourself and let everybody know, my guys, let everybody know who is representing for the village tonight.
I feel like we are my name is Issa. I run Ambition Model and Marketing Agency. It's a model marketing agency here in the Bay Area. President started that in about 2018. So I manage to work with models here in the Bay Area. Just happy to be a part of this conversation with young ladies to talk about the male-female dynamic. That's always an interesting topic to discuss.
Man, my name is Rand. I am originally from Georgia, moved to EPA, came out to the East Bay. During that time, I was doing mental health and did it for about 15 years until I felt like I needed to get out of the mental health field because of systems, but really I'm passionate about youth. Currently right now I work collaboratively with the DA office in Alameda County doing a lot of restorative justice for our juveniles. Also currently going through the firefighter process for Oakland and or Palo Alto. I have a brand myself. Right now it's a podcast that actually just transitioned to also being a brand. It's called Year of Wins. And I always say, are you about that yow? And it's more perspective. It's also having the understanding that you never lose. It's just how you see things. And it's just a time where I felt like back in 2019 November, and to keep it short, I took a lot of losses. But as I looked at it from perspective, I saw there were actually wins that trajectorily got me to where I needed to go. So with that being said, I'm here. I love being able to talk about love. Also sing, my stage name is Love. So like, it's funny that we're able to have this discussion about the dynamics between relationship with male and female.
Awesome.
So I'm so here for all this Black power, all this Black love and leadership. I think we have a very dynamic lineup. So I want to shout out Bryson for putting this together and bringing it to the community because we don't talk about relationships a lot, right? We talk about situationships, whether it's entanglement or codependency. So we're just going to add a little perspective around like what is a healthy relationship and can you build a mate. So I'm just going to just dive right in, and I guess whoever wants to join into the question can just answer it. And so I want to know who is in a relationship on this panel. Okay, we got one.
I'm at an interesting spot because I'm going through a breakup.
Is that an entanglement or is that like a situation? What do you
No,
label
it
that
was
as?
a relationship.
No, I'm saying now.
Oh,
and
now?
And that you said I'm going through a breakup as in it's still in process.
Yeah, so it's an interesting spot for me. I wouldn't call it an entanglement because before Jada made the word popular, we didn't even know what entanglement was.
So I mean that's enhanced on that. So for me, I think an entanglement is just their situation, but I also think that one thing that I've noticed as a therapist is that an entanglement is when you're going through something and you use another person to get through that situation.
What about
right?
soul ties?
And soul ties too, right? That can be another spiritual word for entanglement. But I also think that people are in entanglements in general. So like if you go to your job every day and you hate it, you're in an entangled situation, right? If you're not where you want to be at and you're having some difficulties getting out of that situation, that can be an entanglement too. I think an entanglement is in a situation that you don't want to be in, right? And you're in like kind of like a situation where like you're in transition, you're trying to figure your way out. So that's how I would define an entanglement, because that her situation was an entanglement. She was not in a relationship. Let's put that out there, right? Even though she was married, they were completely separated, right? And I think the entanglement came into play where I feel that she took advantage of a person who needed help. But that's for another situation, maybe a later topic as we discuss that, because I got some thoughts about that. So we have a couple of people that are in, one person that's in a relationship and another person is going through a breakup. So I want to ask you guys, do you guys have criteria on your dating style? Like when you go out there and you're dating, I know the dating life is different now, right? We have online dating, which is popping right now. How do you guys navigate that? Like what's your criteria for getting in a relationship?
Okay. So I'm not like, I don't like to date. Like I'm not a dater. I don't like going and like trying to get to know somebody and like putting on this like certain like image of like, not like I'm not being myself, but it's a certain presentation you get when you go on a date, because you don't know that person this first time meeting you. So I don't like going on dates, but I always like date someone that I probably already knew and was a friend first. Okay. And then so it's like we already know each other and then it happened that way instead of like going on a fresh new date. I have before, and I did a dating site before, but it was just like for fun type thing, me and my friends, because I honestly think dating sites I thought they were weird until I started meeting people who actually like found someone who they really rocking with on a dating site. But before that, I just thought it was like kind of creepy. But then I looked at it like social media, like Instagram is still like a dating site too in a way. Yeah. So for me, like the person I'm with now, we were already like, we dated in college and then we always was friends and then we kind of just like reconnected again. So it wasn't like anything new or fresh with dating.
So you like to date people that you have a prior history with, so you feel more comfortable?
It always happens that way, yeah. And I am more comfortable because I know that person instead of like, I don't know this person. He could be like on some, some weird. Yeah.
So would you say that you're an introvert or extrovert?
I think I'm both.
Okay.
Yeah, what is it called when you both?
Extrovert, introvert?
I think it's another name, but yeah, I think I'm both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of feedback on how you can be both for the people who don't know that.
Because I'm very social when I'm out, like I'm talking to everybody. I'll have a whole conversation with somebody that I don't know and you think like we've known each other for like super long. But then I also just love like being to myself. I love my me time. Sometimes I don't want to go out, I'll tell somebody, I'll let you know, but that means I'm really not going type because I don't feel like it.
I always mean that.
So, it's like, it's a mixture. Like when I am out, I'm very, very social. I'm not to myself, I'm not shy, I'm not antisocial. But then when I'm to myself, I don't like to be like bothering things.
Okay.
For sure. That's pretty much me.
Anybody else want to go? Answer the question, like what's your criteria for dating?
I think my criteria for dating, because I like to make myself feel like I'm a boss, so at least the bare minimum, have something going for yourself. Amen. Because if not, you're gonna hate me. And you're gonna, it's gonna be, you're gonna sabotage the relationship because you're gonna be like, oh, she's always busy, she never has time for me. And I will make time for you, but you also have to understand that I have a dream, I have vision, and I'm working on that. So I think that's my main focal point when I'm dating. But I will say that to me, dating in 2020 is crazy. It is some crazy stuff going on because people don't know themselves really. So first date for me, I'm gonna ask you about your mom and your dad. I'm gonna ask you about your life path number. I'm gonna ask you, do you know your Orishans? Do you want me to look them up for you so you'll know if you're African American? These are the things that I'm gonna do because I wanna see exactly where you're at in your life path. And even that still won't, negate whether this relationship will work. Like I've did what she did. I've, had guys that like me for 10 years and since high school, and then I'll give them a chance. And then it comes down to either they want to possess me or they just don't understand that, I'm going to be about my business. I'm going to make time for you. I'm going to carve you out. But if you don't understand that I am about a business and I can't, just drop everything and be like, okay, I'm gonna give you kids and marry you right now. Like, no, I've had 2 engagements. And, I don't know if I'm the runaway bride or if I'm just, more focused on what I have going on. So.
Focus on the vision. So first of all, you are a boss.
Thank you.
It was like boss talk. So, but that's one of those things, right? Like, no disrespect, but like Black women are the most educated people in the world right now. So
right.
We kind of got access to resources and options,
right?
So we're not like in that scarcity mindset where we got to get a ring, but also that societal pressure to trying to, fulfill that void or whatever that people try to say that we need.
Right.
Sometimes that is in the forefront of my mind. I know sometimes I'll be having to like chill out with that. So let's just turn over to the fellas. With that being said, like clearly like these 2 women are dynamic women. They're definitely bosses. How is it in a day life for men right now?
Yeah, so let's just dive right on in, brothers. I'll just speak first off and just want to give a shout out to all the Black entrepreneurs. We out here doing our thing. We are Black owned. B, appreciate you. I think for me, I haven't arrived at finding understanding around what my position is on how to, I guess, navigate with the whole dating thing. I think what I'm learning is I know I'm not looking for love. I think for me, I'm a deep lover. I love hard, and I've learned through experiences like loving hard. Sometimes you go in blind, and I think for me, my blinders were just on. I was just there. It is. Dang, great. She has that. She look good. Cool, but at the same time, I don't know who you really are. So I love what you were saying about background, doing a background check, and really taking time to have understanding of what that looks like. And then also how it triggers me, because I got my own triggers as well. I was the guy who didn't have the mom around that I needed. And I did, I'm not trying to market my podcast, but look, I put on my podcast, I got very, very open on the podcast about a conversation with my mother. And I had a really deep conversation with her about what I did not acquire from her so that I could actually be the man that I'm needed to be in society, as far as how a man is supposed to. You say you hear fathers say, this is how a man's supposed to be because your father teaches you this. It's like, hold on, your mom adds to that too. In the way that you present yourself, the way that you communicate with people, the way that you communicate with a woman, right? The way that you treat a woman to some degree, right? So, and I can go to some degree a little bit later. But needless to say, the point I want to make around it is that I'm not. So what I was saying was I actually feel like, again, with the whole dating process, I think it's more of having an understanding that I don't know what women want. In order for me to know that, I got to have conversations. I got to be able to have humility, know that I am not a woman, and I do not know the needs of a woman until I ask her. You know what I mean? And to see if she really do know what her needs are, and if she doesn't know what her needs are, do I want to spend the time to help her go through the process of knowing what her needs are? Because we're not in a relationship and we're not even dating. This is an intro. You know what I mean? And so if it's an intro, I don't want to. Now I'm like, wait a minute, that's a lot of time. I don't need you to be well put together. I don't need perfection. I need you to be perfect for me. You know what I mean? I don't need you to be a perfect woman. People please, or and haha, and you know, but at the same time, I'm anxious as hell while I'm doing it, but I do it well, right? So, but yeah.
So that was like a very articulate
sorry.
response. No, I'm giving you praise, right? Because it was a great depiction of what, you know, some men, maybe they don't know to look for those things, right? Maybe they don't know like the language, or you mentioned like silhouette. You also talked about your background history with your mom, and I just want to piggyback off that a little bit more. We were talking about earlier how your mother is the first relationship that you're going to be in, right? She's your first introduction into a relationship with a woman, and if there's some type of neglect or trauma associated with that, then may skew your lens of how you navigate relationships and attachment to women, right? And so one of the things I really encourage men to do is sit back and process that, right? Because a lot of times when we're in the middle of the circle, we're in it, and so we can't take that external look from the outside looking in to really process like why we're showing up that way, how is that affecting us, you know, how long has it taken place. And so I respect the fact that you were able to do that and also articulate that like in how that affected like your dating life and what you're doing after the fact, right? So highlighting that, so I really felt that. So I'm going to just dive right into the fact of like purpose, right? Because I think a lot of what we're saying is like you have to be grounded in who you are, right? But I think for a lot of Black people, especially when you're dating, like having a sense of purpose in your dating life adds to an extra layer of the conversation. Like you're a whole, like, I need your genealogy.
No, really.
And astrology to back that up with some research.
Yeah.
So I personally don't get that deep.
No,
Maybe
I
should.
had a Black therapist. She was like, at our first meeting, she says, "Do you know your natal chart?" I'm like, yes, I do. I am a Leo. I'm a Cancer moon, so I'm very emotional. I am. My Venus is Virgo, so I analyze everything when I'm loving somebody. And my rising is a Scorpio, so that's what people see of me. Yes, I do know that. And when I said Scorpio, she was like, "Oh Lord," but you know, that's where I got that from. So I asked people like, "What is your love language? Like, what's your moon sign? You don't know your moon sign? Like, you know, your sun sign could be whatever, but how do you love? Like, you know what I mean? How do you represent love?"
Right.
So
And that's what the moon sign is?
the moon sign is your it's basically how you deal with your emotions, and your Venus is how you love. And so my Venus is in Virgo, so I think it's difficult because Virgos are very analytical. So it's like to love someone, I have to think about it first and analyze the situation to see if I want to even do it or if I want to pursue it. And that can get very tricky because that means I'm going to be all up in my head. I have to think about the pros and cons.
So you're a very logical lover.
Very logical lover, but I'm with a Cancer moon, me with my emotions being a Cancer moon, I'm emotional.
You're emotionally connected.
Yeah, I'm emotional. So for me, I have to emotionally connect with you.
Right.
In some level.
And that makes sense because it goes back to that layer of safety.
Yeah.
Right? And security. So what I hear you saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that you like the security in your relationship.
Yeah.
And that allows you to have that deep emotional connection.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, in retrospect, that's a healthy bonding, you know, experience to have with any man, right? But I think that as it pertains to like Black men specifically with attachment, we don't really invite the idea of like how racial trauma affects that and how you know, Black men are perceived and they experience post-secondary trauma all the time, especially right now.
Yeah.
And so in order for them to navigate that experience, they have to disconnect. A lot of Black men disconnect, but when they disconnect, they don't do that just socially, they do that emotionally too, and that it causes like a safeguard, right? And I mean, if you guys could add more insight to that. I know during this time, you know, a lot of people are having relationship issues because of Black men not feeling safe and how they deal with their and processing the information that they're getting emotionally is to go within. So like shut the world off, process it, and then like having to like come back. But in the midst of that, they have to go to work. If they're in a relationship, if they're giving as they're emotionally processing.
Yeah.
All the things that go into context. So I think that I actually like wanted to introduce that layer to the conversation because one of the things I do in my consulting practice is I have a Black men's mental wellness Brothers group that we meet every Sunday, and so I'm privileged to have this insight, right, and be able to work with Black men with navigating that. And it's like they live two lives, right? It's the lives that they live where their like criminal instincts are being affected, right? But they still have to be romantically connected. And I think that we don't give a lot of really support in that as Black women, because we just don't know, right? I think that if I wasn't behind the scenes and really processing with Black men, I wasn't able to understand that duality. So I also want to bring that up. Like, I feel like in building a man, I think that's a very big piece that's missing. I know for me, the way that I have evolved into supporting Black men is to just show up, like unconditionally, right? Without any expectations from them. I think before I had so many expectations on them meeting my needs that I never took into consideration, like, maybe you guys are going through something.
It sounds like we need to just end on that. I like how this is going that way.
So can you guys add a little bit of feedback to it? Because I think that is like the gray area we don't address.
Yeah, for me, honestly speaking, being honest, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm kind of more, when it comes to relationships, more like love languages. You brought up love languages. I've kind of been learning about love languages. You know, words of affirmation, touch, action. And you touched on something in terms of the emotional part for men and how, you know, you learn to just kind of be available and show up. And I think for me that I've learned that a lot about me over the past few years is sometimes to become, because a lot of men, we are unemotional when it comes to situations, or we don't show emotions, or I can say for me. And it's not because I don't care or I'm not concerned. I'm just, like you said, sometimes we're dealing with a lot of ish sometimes. And so working along, running a business and everything you got going on, and just being a Black man, what you deal with as a Black man in the world sometimes can affect you in ways that might spill over into your relationship in an indirect kind of way. You're not meaning to be unemotionally available, but you just got so much on your shoulder that you're dealing with. That sometimes you don't always show that emotion. So trying to balance that out where you processing what you personally dealing with, but still trying to show up for your mate in an emotional way, because she may want to be connected with you emotionally. Is a balance and a fine line that you're
Yeah, and just to add some context to that, they say by the age of 12, men in general are conditioned not to be emotionally connected, right? And so there's three ways that men are programmed to show emotion, and that's through aggression, irritability, and anger outbursts, right? And so those things, because a lot of men are, the masculine energy is tailored into some type of sports, right? But, you know, if a young boy tries to, and I catch myself doing this with my son, when a young boy tries to express himself emotionally, he's called a sissy, he's called being a man, he's like his experience emotionally is dismissed. And it's a collective that happens, and it really starts on the playground, right? And how you deal in sports. And there's really no space, specifically for Black men, to be emotionally connected, because they're in survival mode all the time, right? If you're connected emotionally and your threat, your survival is at bay, then you're going to be triggered all the time. So as a survival skill, you know, that we've developed over the years, you know, you go inward, right? And you still show up. That's the thing. I think that women, like, I promise you, I was like, oh my God, Black men have feelings and problems. Because, like, I just never thought about it. I just never thought about it.
But it's a study, I think it's mice, and so it was an adult mice, right? And every time that the mice would go to the peppermint, they would shock the mice, right? And that trauma was passed down to their children and their grandchildren. So the mice, the children of that mother mice, they would be shocked when they would smell peppermint. And so you have to think about all the trauma that we have, you know, endured, especially Black people in America, for 400 years. So that trauma has been passed down to you. You know, you don't only sit here as yourself, but you represent your grandmother, your grandfather, your grandfather's grandfather, and everything that they went through. And like you were saying, if I had a relationship and we ended on bad terms because this person was unemotionally unavailable, I still tell them I'm still going to be your friend, because I think it's important that black men have good black women in their life.
But how did you know that? Because I think that a lot of black women don't get that message.
Oh yeah, and unfortunately, it's a matrix. And like I said, 400 years, your name was stripped from you, your religion was stripped from you, everything that your core was stripped from you, and you had your oppressors teach you. That was 400 years ago, and it's still going on today, right? Who owns hip hop? Most of the people that own the companies are white people that's saying, hey, call her a nigger, call her a bitch, so you have to think about that too. And for black men and black women, we have all of these social conditions that are placed upon us, but it's up to us to really educate ourselves and know thyself. So I think it's important. For me, it's all about knowing myself. And so my whole thing is, I don't rush into relationships, is how can I rush into a relationship with a man and give a man my all, give him my soul, give him my body, if I don't know who I am? And a lot of times men don't know who they are, and women, they don't know who they are either, and they go off what is social norms. Right now, it's city girls, right? So everybody want to be, city girl flued out, right? Instead of actually dealing with, like, okay, wait a minute, is this really healthy? Is it healthy for me to feel like I need to scam on somebody? Is that healthy for me? No, it's not healthy on me. But people do it because of societal norms. And we have to ask, well, where are these norms coming from?
Right.
I
I think people don't have the insight to ask the question, but also you touched on with the nice thing is epigenetics, right?
Okay.
So epigenetics is the study of DNA, and it's been studied and proven that there's DNA that's stored in your body that is fight or freeze, which is responsible to trauma, right? And so hypothetically speaking, when they say don't run from the cops, right? If you've experienced post-secondary trauma, and that goes back to slavery, when you try to leave the plantation and they come and try to hunt you down, you automatically have an automatic response to danger in that way to run, and that's a primitive response to danger. So when they say and they tell black men not to run, it speaks against their humanity.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
they're basically saying don't show up human.
Right.
Right. That's a subliminal message that's being sent, because the statistics are there, the science is there, right? But the consequences to the behavior don't add up. Right. So they're being penalized for that. So basically, I want to bring up the fact of how do you show up in a relationship as a healthy person, and what do you do if you find out? Because one of the things is, like, I call it the Jack in the Box effect. So statistically, 3 to 6 months, right? It's a courting phase for men, and they show up like right? They give you that attention. But when you don't have sex, is when we got a problem. So I want to talk a little bit about that.
I got a different opinion about that.
Okay.
Because I feel like if you don't have sex with a man, he is on his best behavior. He is best behavior.
For 3 to 6 months.
But even then, if you have sex with a man, then you know exactly where it's going to stand. I personally think that. You work 3 to 6 months for him to be like, okay, he done got the draws, and now he gonna ghost you. Well, you could have did that the first month and got it over with and figured out what you wanted to do.
That's true. But statistically it's proven that ain't the case. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Sex before marriage, when is a good time to have it? When do you feel like it's an appropriate time? And I also want the fellas to elaborate on, like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, so I got a lot of things running through my mind, and I'm like, man, this is going to be a part 2, part 3, part 4 of this, because it's just a wealth of information, and I'm listening to perspective, you know what I mean? And, like, I can't say that I know from stats, those are facts, boom. But as we sit up here at the platform with panelists, I think I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, you know what I mean? Everybody has their opinion around what they believe, and that's why we're here, right? I think one of the things that I wanted to touch on going into the sex part was that I'm emotionally available. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm the anomaly in regards to the man that's in touch with my feelings. Been like that since I was a kid. Was called a sucker. So I was from East Palo Alto, murder capital at that time. But I didn't have to say, I'm a man, I'm from East Palo Alto. Like, I knew what my abilities were if I was in the street and somebody tried to test me. That's a dangerous thing where I called it, because I was very funny, but no one really knew who I was, right? Deeply, right? Or the anger that I had stored up from not having my mother or my father in my life. I was a community village kid, you know what I mean? I think at the same time I was able to navigate through life having an understanding that being in touch with my feelings, my intuition actually saved my ass a lot. And also being comfortable with myself. So when it came to, and then also too having insecurities with myself too, right? At the same time, when it comes to women, I think I tried to present myself more than what I was at times, because I felt like I had to do that because of how it was presented to me of what a woman wanted. And so I had to have the best shoes, I had to have the fresh cut, I had to speak a certain way, I had to move a certain way. And in that time, all I realized is that I wasn't being true to myself. And that took away from the process of how things could have gone, meaning you got her, but you don't even know how to keep her now because you got to keep this image up now. And that's actually making you broke, brother. Like, so you might want to fall back and actually think about what's going on with you for real. And so once I started realizing those things about myself, I started saying, man, and mind you, I still have those moments where that urge kind of creeps in and I want to kind of flex a little bit. And like, no, you know what that flex looks like and feels like because you've been there before. So it's having those understanding, those interventions that you need to stop yourself from doing those things. But with that being said, yes, in touch with my feelings, yes, am available emotionally to women. That's not for the the clout and to be on TV. It's I am. Really want to know what's going on with her. But I think what the issue is that there has never been enough time when you speak about men for me to feel that a woman wants to know about me. Like, I'm there, I'm available. Are you going through this? So let's find solutions. Let's figure out a way that we can confine our communication together, because yours work, mine work. We're excellent communicators, but we suck here, right? But at the same time, I'm just like, yo, and I'm over and I'm doing this. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm cool. It's okay. Yeah, it's cool. I'm gonna be all right. You good though? So what can we do? But I want her to be like, yo, no, push the envelope. Like, what's really going, but not like to where you really trying to choke me out. Like, I want to know what's going on. Know the proper verbiage. Know that I like delivery. How's your approach? Are you getting an attitude with me because I want to express myself to you? Wait a minute. Like, there's a reason why I don't do that. Like, so, and now you're pushing me further away now because I don't feel safe. And men can say that. We don't feel safe. I feel like society has done a really good job of making men feel that they have to be emasculated. Like, we got a such and such and such to prove that we man. It's like, nah, I know I'm a man. Like, let's get it. I know I'm a man, but I also know I got emotions. I also know I got passion. I also know that I'm very much a lover. You know what I mean? And if I'm not, that don't necessarily mean that I'm not a man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I have a son. I gotta go here. I have a son. Everybody knows that know me, that's my heart. Mm-hmm. And in that, I have told my son, hey, why are you crying so much? And then I started to realize, like, I was allowed to cry. You can cry. Cry all you want. That doesn't make that don't mean you are in touch with your feelings. You're in touch with how you feel. Do it, right? With that being said, not having a father, being able to be in my ear about how am I supposed to be as a man, it actually helped me. Because I feel like my dad would have shifted something that would take me away from my emotions around how I need to be. Sex? I don't want to go into sex right away. The reason being, because I feel like a lot of emotions are involved. And in those emotions, you may not even know, man, I'm telling you, like, I feel like when I have had that, like, sex, and I did it before really getting to know the person, a lot of emotions came out, and that wrecked everything. I'm not saying I don't have a desire to do it or that I don't want to be involved in that. Dang, girl, you fine as hell. I'm trying, what's up? Man, let me go ahead, but hold on. You'll go take a shower. Showers don't work, okay? Like, working out ain't working either, so stop. But I think my biggest thing has just been like, yo, I need to know your behavior. I need to know how you respond to things. Then I got to know what your sexual history is. I got not just your check. Did you get your checkup? But what's your real history checkup with men when it comes to you and how you are with sex and how you made yourself available, or not how quick, but your response to it afterwards as well, because we look at response too. What y'all do after we have sex. You know what I mean? Like, what do we do? Like, well, I'm looking at, okay, so let me see how you acting now. You know what I mean? Like,
The whole list.
so yeah, I had to break it down. I had to go there and get long-winded. You know what I'm saying? Let's speak for the brother. Let's speak a little bit for the
EI,
brother.
which is emotional intelligence, right? So that's really where like you're in alignment with your emotional stability. You're able to articulate your emotions very well. You're able to like label it. You're able to like really navigate it. I think that's very like rare for a lot of black men because of that stigma we talked about the racial trauma thing, and like black men just really don't do that place of self-discovery. So I thank you for adding that insight to the conversation. But I want to go over here to you to see like what's your perspective?
What was the question again?
Sex before marriage, connection. Where does that play? Where do you think that plays out in dating life?
Well, I mean, in dating life, when it comes to sex, I think first and foremost, I think honesty is always important. It took me some years because I also been married before, so I had different experiences. Then after marriage, been married for 10 years, kind of back out to the scene, right? So I'm kind of piggybacking on something you said in terms of men feeling like, because barbershop talk, feeling like we have to present ourselves in certain ways. This chick we want, she bad. We gotta have this going on because men, we hunters at the end of the day, right? So we feel like we want to be hunters and conquerors, and we see this woman that we want. So we feel like in order to get that woman, we have to present ourselves a certain way to accomplish the task at hand, so to speak. Once we accomplish the task, that's a whole other story. But I'm saying that to say,
I know that part.
Right. Get the draws, dog.
So I think first and foremost, you gotta be honest. And that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
You gotta learn how to be honest and upfront.
Yeah.
That's what I had to learn. About where you at. Should we cross that threshold of being sexual? Because sometimes a lot of women can perceive that as, okay, now we're in a relationship because I just
Gave you my body.
Right, exactly. So it takes things to another place. And so I think having those honest conversations, especially when feelings and emotions might get involved, you might be really feeling the individual, but you might not be ready for what they're ready for if y'all cross that line. So, I think that being honest, being upfront about where you are in terms of, if we have sex or if we cross those lines, I think it's very important. Because we have sex doesn't mean she might feel the same way. Because I have sex with you don't mean I'm gonna be in a relationship with you or vice versa. Yeah. So I think that having those conversations, because we're all grown and we adults, we don't have to, hide behind trying to be something that we're not. We just gotta be honest and upfront.
I think one of the things that also we should take into consideration when dating is codependency. Right? Codependency is when you're dependent on the other person to meet an emotional need. And I think that's a driving force behind like why people have sex and who they choose as their partner. How codependency shows up in some people is in the form of crossing boundaries and using sex as like a safeguard. So like sometimes some women and some men will penalize the person by withholding sex, right? After they made that connection. It's a power dynamic situation you mentioned. Once they have sex, they own you type of mentality. So, some people will use sex as like a proposition, like because I, have sex with you, I own you in that sense, and like I can cross boundaries. Right? And then some people just use it as an emotional stabilizer, to be honest. Like anxiety is really high and so is depression. And sex is actually an energy booster. It's an endorphin. Every single time you ejaculate or you have an orgasm, you have a sense of happiness. Like it's almost like taking a drug, but it's used in the form of sex. And how we see that showing up to treat mental health is if a person has anxiety or depression, and they're just using sex as that, basically medication. Because they're neglecting themselves in that way. Then you'll find yourself having really difficult times in a marriage and being monogamous because you're needing to fill that void, and then you introduce you know, the possibility of a sex addiction and an addiction to porn.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
And a lot of men have a porn addiction. And what in society is acceptable, it's introduced to men around the age, young boys between the ages of 7 and 12. So you just naturally gain this unrealistic narrative of what sex is supposed to look like. And what it does is it makes actually makes men have like heightened experiences around their ability to have sex and what that looks like, right? And it skews their mind. And then two, if you overly ejaculate all the time, it can lead to prostate cancer, right? And we don't talk about those things because we just normalize masturbation, but it really is such a tradition. So I just want to highlight those things around that for some mental health information. So I want to turn over here to the ladies, right? I want to talk about a little bit about what your philosophy is. You shared your philosophy around sex. You didn't share your philosophy around sex, so I kind of want to get yours around that and like how do you navigate that?
First, because when I was listening to him like saying like how he is emotionally available and he don't try to hide. I think also as women we make it hard on men to be emotionally available because like for instance I'll have conversations with my friends and they could be dating one of my homegirls, she'll be dating this guy and then like he'll be like super sweet, emotional, like in touch with his feelings and things. She'd be like, he too soft. I don't want no dude that's gonna be doing all like hecka soft. I need somebody I need a street nigga or like, you know, stuff like that. And I used to be that way as well. Like if a dude is like hecka, like I would label it as sensitive when they're really just, you know, comfortable with being in touch with their feelings. And I feel like men start to realize that and we kind of make it harder on them to be emotionally available. So then they start to deter from that and like just be this like, oh, tough guy now. I'm not finna keep texting her first or I'm not finna do these sweet romantic things when really it's not, I feel like it's not really hard for some men. It's just that, you know, if women come off as they don't want that, then why would a man do that type of thing? So I feel like we do kind of make it, you know, hard on men for that as well.
Cross, but first we're gonna get into the topic of discussion. We gave you guys kind of like the foundation, our philosophies around dating, the individual work, right? So now we're gonna jump into the real work, which is can you build a mate, which is why we're here to answer that question. So is that possible? Do you guys feel like you can build a mate? Have you tried to do that? I know I personally tried to do that, and I think like 16 times. I think I lost count at 16. But I just want to get you guys' perspective on like, is that possible, and have you done it? So who wants to chime in on that question?
I mean, I think we've all done it either subconsciously or consciously in some aspect of regard. I mean, it's just human nature.
So when you say subconsciously and consciously, you mean when you directly do it on purpose and when you don't know when you're doing it, right?
Because I think we all, you know, when choosing to make, you know, going back to dating and sizing the person up, getting to know them, we already had these preconceived ideas of what we're looking for. So we've already built that person subconsciously in our mind in terms of who we want to date, who we want to be with, whatnot. Now, when we meet XYZ person, they might not necessarily measure up to the person we had in our mind. But we may be vibing with them, you know, and I've heard women say this, and men sometimes about women that, okay, well, I could work with him or her on this. They can change this or that. But a lot of times, you know, we all bring luggage into a situation in terms of our past experiences. We unpacking something, right? When we come into situations. So, I mean, I've thought about the question, and I think you can and you can't. Of course, we've been with people or individuals that we've helped in some shape or some regard. We've helped. You know, my last girlfriend, she's helped me in so many ways. So she built me up in so many ways. But some things we couldn't compromise on. So it was no in that sense. So I think it's kind of like twofold. You can and you can't.
Okay. I think just to add context to that, so what you're saying is they go in there with the open mind. They don't get what they want, but they try to kind of finesse it to make it what it is.
Exactly.
Okay. So in the mental health world, we call that cognitive distortion. And so that's when you like to see the gray area when things are black and white to fit your narrative of what you're trying to create in your mind mentally, and you end up with a lot of you know, mixed emotions, mistakes, because you kind of like didn't see this situation in black and white. So thank you for that.
But I wouldn't be the person. So if I was to get that guy, I wouldn't be ready to receive him. Like he wouldn't want me for the person I was praying for. So then I had to realize, okay, I need to be the woman, you know, that fulfill my purpose, so then I could receive who's meant for me. Now when it goes into building, I feel like you can pray for somebody you want or manifest whatever the God that you know desire, but you have to be realistic as well. You can't just go into and say, I want this guy who's 6 feet this, he dark skinned with the okay. Now I did want a dark skinned man on the beard, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to chill with that, but then I got one. So I just feel like it's some things you just have to like.
Young man.
I feel like
Young man.
I feel like you just have to know who you are first, and then I feel like you can manifest and pray for somebody like and then you got to know like what's your deal breakers, and then I don't think you can. I think some things you can like help somebody grow from, but you can't change a person.
Exactly.
And then I do feel like, you know, in a relationship, some people do have to change certain things within themselves for each other to work, but that's like a lot of power, and it's like how bad do you want that to work, and it's like putting pride to the side. It's a lot of that goes into it, and then just being honest as well. Like for me, going into like before I was in a relationship, like I learned to be super honest about like who I am and what I want and what I'm going for. I want to be married, you know. I want like a family and all these type of things, and so I was practicing, like when we was talking about sex, I practiced celibacy, and I would let them know like this is what I'm practicing, and that's like a whole nother story though, but this is just me going into like being upfront and honest. So me giving this person an option, like dang, I don't know if I want to mess with her,
Right,
you know, or
right.
you know, okay, I'll give her
That
a shot,
might
we
be a
can
deal
go,
breaker or something.
you know what I'm
It
saying?
might
So
be,
for me,
yeah.
I feel like going to be honest, but I don't know if that answers your question. But,
No, I mean, I was about to fall out my chair. You said a lot of stuff. Like, we talked about boundaries, right? We talked about expectations. We talk about self-worth, right? I think a lot of women need to start to foster that, right? Because you can't honor and respect yourself and expect someone else to do that more than you, or to add more value to yourself than you can, right? And I think that a lot of times women go into relationships based off lack and need, right? And they think that, okay, that person is going to complete me, and I totally hate that. I speak against that. I think you need two independent people that come together to be interdependent together, so that if that person isn't up to their 100%, you can be that 70 for that person while they operating in their 30. And I think that's true partnership, right? I think that's what as a people we need to start to manifest in our relationship, to have those expectations. Like I think like a lot of people go in thinking like you said, that fixer mode, like okay, I'm going to fix this person's situation because I like that, like, and that's where that cognitive distortion stuff comes in at, when you like kind of romanticize a person and hype them up and don't see them as it is, because you went in there thinking that she was going to fix that person, and like I think that's God's work.
Right.
And I think I want to just quickly chime in, because you were saying something that jarred this thought, that I think two individuals can make each other better though. I think that's definitely.
But I think that you have to be equal when you come in, so you go up, unless you're having a person come up to you, and that person may not be able to have, that mindset, that system that you feel like maybe something that they can, like, you can't date a person's potential.
Yeah.
No.
You gotta, if you're willing to rock with that person for who they are, they take them for who they are, and in that case they might not, because we're talking self-actualization. Like, we're talking evolution here, like a person evolving, and I think that's the biggest misconception about relationships as it pertains to, like, does that person have, like, first of all, we talk about parenting, right? Environmental skills, access to resources, to self-actualize to where you're at, right? Now, some men, that as long as she look good, she got a nice body, you know what I'm saying? Her credit score cool. Hey, well, whatever motion you go, and that's right. But some men are like, no, I got stuff to lose. So I need you to come in as my equal, so that you match where I'm at, so that we can go up. And so that's just, for me, that's not my day. I need to know what's going on, because I'm not in that fixer mode no more in my relationship, because I got stuff to lose, right? So I'm protecting my assets. So I personally feel like I'm going into my relationship thinking about business deals, like, and I'm just, I'm just being honest. I'm just at that point in my life where I don't got time for the feelings. Like, I'm trying to, where we going? But I wanted to get your perspective on that, because I think you have a diversity of thought. So thank you for being at the Christian finishing things because I'm there with you too.
So for me, I used to be that cleanup one. You know, like, oh, I'm gonna clean you up. And I realized you are not God. You are one person. You can inspire people, but you cannot change people. And that's what it goes back to me saying on the first date, here's my cards. This is what I got going on. This is about me. This is the trauma that I'm working through, that I dealt with, and this is where I'm at in there. What about you? This is what I can offer. What can you offer? And from there, I can figure out, is this the person I want to be with? Do I want to lollygag with this, or we're just friends? And so for me, like you were saying, everything is a business deal. For me, you have to have that. A business deal to me is like, listen, this is what I can bring. What can you bring? Okay, bet. And from there, people are going to change. It's just how it is. We're going to change. But I do believe in loving a person freely. And what I mean by that is, if you love a person for who they are with no expectations, you give them room to grow, hopefully to what they're supposed to be, or hopefully what they see themselves to be. Because you can meet a man who says, well, I have a dream. I want to be a CEO. I want to be this. I want to be that. Okay, so that's his dream. So for me, knowing that that's his dream, I have to give him room to grow into what he's trying to grow. Now that doesn't mean we're going to end up, together for 10 years or 20 years. We might only have this journey with each other for a year. But in that time period, it's about, is this person making me better, or is this person making me worse? Is this person adding to me? Is this person, is this a liability, or is this an asset? So that's the whole thing for me. But for me, I don't think you can build a mate unless you go to a third world country. And even then, if you bring him back to America, he might be acting funny style. So you may not be able to do that. So I don't believe in building a mate, but I believe in knowing where a person is in their journey. And from there, I can, make the decision whether I want to continue on with that journey where he is at. And maybe for me, it's like, I got 3 degrees. All I do is study. So some guys don't have that kind of, that understanding. So I understand that with me, I bring a different aspect to a relationship. So, I don't have a problem with saying, if you're thinking about an LLC, you should do it this way. I don't mind helping you out in that kind of way, but I'm not trying to build you up. I'm trying to make sure that if this is what you want from our first date, you told me your expectations, then bet. Let me see if I have any resources that I can help you with that, or if I know anything, or if I can be of service of that. Because I also think it's important to make sure that people elevate to what they are trying to be. Why would you want to build somebody just to tailor-make you to degrade us, taken from its African griot roots from now. So that's just my perspective.
More perspective to that?
Yeah, I think just always it's important to respect a person's individuality. You got 2 people coming from 2 different backgrounds, and you don't know what they've been through, and you don't know what they've done to either build themselves up to get back to where they are, or who they are, or who they were, or to become stronger, right? And then I think when I was actually just listening to my sister here, it was more like manifesting that. Like, you can manifest, I believe that you can manifest the mate that you want, but when that person comes into your life, just being willing to fall back and get to learn that person for who they are, having the understanding too that as you all get to know one another, there is going to be compromise. It just has to happen in order for there to be for the well-being of we as opposed to I, right? We get caught up in the I so much, and I'm not going to lose myself, and I'm not going to do this, and I told myself I wasn't going to do this no more. And it's like, wait, but if we're going to do a we thing, you're going to have to lose some of those things with also me respecting that I know that that's hard.
Yeah.
I get, man, I don't want to lose that either, but I'm realizing that my pride will stop us from getting to where we could go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I even get to a point I was having a conversation with my friend. I was like, I can't tell you how you need to be respected. I got to respect you to the degree that you want to be respected. Like, who am I to tell you? You saying I'm not respecting you, and I'm like, yeah, I am. How does that even sound? That don't even sound right. Like, you respect the person to the degree that they want to be respected, not to the degree that you think that they should feel respected.
Right, right.
So in that, as you're manifesting and that comes to play, it's like also remembering too that there are values there that we all desire to have. So let's bring them to the table and talk about what our values are. Let's have an understanding of what we've come from, what we can and can't deal with, but then at the same time, I'll be talking to my brothers. I'm like, wait, you said she what? And she, huh? You guys have talked too. And she, what? Wait a minute, bro. Is that your red light or your red flag, or is that her red flag? Because you probably still ain't dealt with some things yet, and that over there might be green, but you over here triggered because you ain't took care of that yet. You might want to step back before you lose that amazing woman over there. That type of stuff. So with that perspective, no, don't believe you can build a mate. Manifest it, absolutely. Build, nah.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up some really great points that I was going to get into with the red flags. So I wanted to ask as a collective, like, what are some red flags, like, you guys have noticed for you, yourself, in your dating life that you was like, you know what, that's a red flag, and I completely ignored that, and this is what happened.
I think going back to something I think you touched on, like we touched on, somebody who's possessive. And I think that's, in my experience, I know people that have dealt with that. Female friends of mine, where you at, what you're doing, especially when you cross certain boundaries that we talked about earlier. So that would be one for me.
The boundaries being
Sex.
okay.
Yeah.
How shifts change after that transaction takes
Take it.
place.
Yeah.
You know, just wanting to be more controlling, possessive, phone ring a little more, get a few more calls, get a few more texts, get a few more WYD.
I think that when you're intimate with a person in bed, it kind of like, you know, you see me naked. I mean, we share body fluids. I can call you. I think men compartmentalize that a lot, and women are like, nah, we're best friends now. Like,
Right.
we're in a whole relationship right now.
Right.
I've exposed to you.
I got friends that say if you hit it 3 times, y'all go together. That's a silent thing.
heard that
That's a silent thing.
Yeah, I think the expectation is different on that. So it just depends on how you know. But you talked a little bit about what's your history, right? And like it's unhealthy because if that person can't ever have an off time or an off day, right? That's why.
And then that person is walking on eggshells. Too.
Right, trying to figure out like what's going on with you. But I want to talk a little bit more about, you know, just the whole mindset behind dating and maturity. Because I hear you guys are very seasoned, like in your dating. A lot of people are not. And I want to talk about the concept of how you can be an age, but not mentally maturely be there mentally because of your developmental delays, right? And I think that in dating, we really don't talk about that because a person will present, you know, a certain age. I say that they 36, 37, you know, 25, whatever your age range is, but they've never self-actualized past a certain point. I want to highlight how trauma affects that. Like there's 3 responses to trauma. There's fight, flight, and freeze. And a lot of people who experience trauma, they'll freeze. And so freeze mode is when like that trauma impact is so heavy that you stop developing mentally and you navigate your life based off that trauma impact, but you're still living your life. So what that would look like is, let's say if you witness a loved one or you ended a relationship really bad. And so you're like literally stuck in that moment, but your life is still going on, but you still hold that emotional baggage with you, right? And then you have the fight mode where you're living your life, but you're still going, right? The trauma's never there. You're kind of running away, making up for lost time. You're still navigating, but emotionally and mentally you're disconnected, right? So you're just kind of going. And then fight mode is when you're super temperamental, you're argumentative, like everything is a big deal. Like, you know, you see it in like with females with being like, well, who you calling? Well, how come you didn't come home? You know, like he was 10 minutes late, and what are you doing, right? So I think that when we're dating, we need to take that into consideration because that could be associated with some form of trauma, and we're asking a person who's traumatized to show up healthy emotionally and mentally, and that doesn't work. So, just for the sake of time and the concept, have you guys ever experienced like a relationship in that space and tried to like be that person's therapist or turn into that person's therapist? Because I have a lot of people that I'm like, Yeah, you're a therapist.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be real. Like picking up, just listening to you and knowing that background that I have, and going to therapy and doing that type of work, I brought my work home. You know what I mean? And home meaning like either with my son or whoever I'm dating, or even in the marriage that I was in, like and it makes that person feel like I'm better than them, or that I know it all, or that, and then I had to become mature and look at some things and look at myself like, why am I trying to tell them what they should do, X, Y, and Z? When I got hella shit that I need to work on myself, and teaching them to do certain things, and I ain't even done it myself. You know what I mean? So I do think like the maturity is important. I think it's important for you to be, I'm a very reflective person. You know what I mean? And I think my reflection, it was just being too analytical, right? Then it became more reflection and realizing like, yo, these are some things that I need to pay attention to and actually work on, right? So I think it's not just being able to date a person with maturity.
And that's a problem for me. Or if you're calling me every hour, like what you doing, well, clearly you're not doing enough and you need some activities to do. Do you want me to tell you what you can do? But that's a red flag for me not to mess with you, because I'm not your mother.
Yeah.
I can't be your mother. You know, the Bible says that, you know, Eve was created to be a helper. I can be your helpmate, but I can't be your mother. I can only give you what, you know, what you've already given yourself, and I can meet you there. And if there's something that I have, that any information that you may not know or may not see, I don't have a problem with giving you that insight. And you do what you want to do. After you get that information.
So do you feel like you're a leader in the relationship?
I personally do not like to be a leader in a relationship.
Okay.
I do not. If you ask me on a date, please let me know where we going so I know how to dress. Please don't say you want to go on a date with me and then like I don't hear nothing from you, or there's no idea or anything put into place. Like I don't mind playing, you know, the step back role. Because I personally like to play the step back role, because it's like, okay, then I can be a nurturer, I can do all of this other stuff. But I don't really like to take control of my relationship at all. Like, I like for the man to be a man and take control of the relationship. But you know, as a woman and as his equal counterpart, if I see something that he doesn't see, I'm gonna let him know.
What about who pays?
Well, Martin was courting Coretta, so you must pay if you're going to be courting me. Now, I'm not with the reverse stuff. I know we reverse in 2020 and all this, but I believe if you a man, please court a woman. Let a woman know that that you're interested in her. I've seen a lot of men. I've dated some younger men, I've dated some older men. And a lot of younger men here in the Bay Area, they want to be treated like bad bitches. And I'm not game goofy, okay? It's gonna be one, it ain't gonna be both of us. Now listen, either I'm gonna be the video vixen or you gonna be the video vixen. But we both can't be video vixens, because I don't believe in tricking on no man to be with a man. Like I don't believe in that. I feel like if you're interested in me, then you have to court me, because I will probably offer you more from your $100 dinner in the long run.
Okay. So it's a healthy investment into your future connection.
Yeah, it's a healthy investment, and it lets me know to me, when you court a woman, it lets me become comfortable with you. You know, it makes me feel like, okay, let me sit back. This is somebody who's really interested in taking the time to get to know me. Let me get to know this person as well. But if it's more of I'm picking the dates and I'm like, oh, I got it. Well, is this person really interested in me, or is this person looking for a free meal? And you know, being from the Bay Area, it's a little different, because I went from high school, it was L.O.V.E, all in a bitch, to I went to a historical black college in Montgomery, Alabama, to you have all these Southerners charming you, but you know, the charm is filled with facade, but you know, that's a different story. But you know, they charming you to get what you want, where in the Bay Area, you know, you have a man can be like, look, I got a chick over here, you feel me? I'm trying to see what's up with you, you know, what's good. But not all, but you know, that's the environment that we live in, where it's, you know, fast paced, pimp talk. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's our culture here in the Bay Area. So I'm always kind of like, I'm always got my guards up when I meet a person. But once you get the guard down and I actually sit down and talk to you and learn more about who you are, because I'm so big on be my friend first. Don't see it as, oh, I want to add her to my trophy. No, be my friend first.
So be your friend first, but treat you to meals like you're dating.
Yes, be my, but see what I mean? Like, you're dating, no, like, because that's going to sound weird. But be my friend, meaning that you see me as equal. Because you see your homeboy as equal, right? So see me as an equal person
But would
first.
they treat their homeboys to dinner?
Well, yeah, it's a step up. It's a step up. It is a step up. Yeah, it is a step up. But I still want to have that friendship level where we can, if we become intimate, if we become intimate, we've already put down the foundation. I don't want it to be like, okay, now we become intimate and now we're trying to rush to figure out how to make this work. No. Let's step back.
I only ask that because some men will say, well, I can take you out on dates and I don't want to be your friend. Because I think that I don't take like
my
my
homeboys.
friends. Like, no, like you pay for your meal. And
Right,
I pay for my
everyone,
meal,
yeah,
so
right.
that I'm not invested into
Right.
friendships like that. So I was just thinking out because I know a lot of men do that. So I want to take it over here to the girls and I come back to you guys, to the ladies. But I wanted to take it over here and ask you guys about like when you are dating and let's just say, you know, she's keeping a friendship vibe, right? You pay.
I always pay.
Okay.
I'm just old school. Like,
What if a woman was like, nah, I got this?
I appreciate that too. I'm not gonna stop her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I've always paid. That's just my law. You know what I mean? But especially, and I've heard some I've heard some horror stories from female friends where a dude will ask them out, they go out and expect them to pay. And it's, you know, that's that different generation to me. But you know, I'm a little older, so I'm old school. If you out with a woman, you treat her to a good time. Nothing should be on her at all. You know what I mean?
Do you open doors?
Huh?
You open doors.
Of course.
Okay.
Chivalry is not dead.
Amen.
It's still alive.
And I'll stand there and wait for you to open up the door. That's the kind of person I am.
The shock is, you know, dating over the years, when you do the little things, how surprised some women are because they never had that done before.
Yeah.
Simple stuff like opening the car door, opening the door of the establishment you want to, even letting the woman order first. Like even when I go to a restaurant, take the woman's order first, don't take my order first. So just the little things like that, you know, sometimes get lost nowadays, you know.
I feel it.
Hey,
Okay.
I have the old school in me as well. I think again, respecting that person's individuality, I'm quick to pay, and that's just something that's in me. You know what I mean? I think friend, no friend, whatever we are. I also want to respect if she wants to pay and not, you know what I mean? Like, cause some women want to pay, some women want to go Dutch, you know what I mean? Some women want to see if you will allow them to be independent in that situation, whether it be friend or not, you know? I think one thing I'm realizing too is my son watches everything that I do, and he watches everything that I do. And if you go on my gram, it's just me and my son, like, and he's singing, he's doing these different things, and I'm realizing that, you know, his mom would hit me up and be like, you know what he did this morning? And I'm like, what's up, she? Your son made my coffee, he made me some breakfast, he opens the door for me, and I talk to him and he's like, well, I watch you, Dad. I do hold the door open, even when I get an attitude from a woman, like I don't want anything from you, I'm just holding the door for, and I don't even have to say that, it's just I'm gonna still hold the door with you just trying to look at me from the, no, I'm not, I'm actually just holding the door, you know. But yeah, I mean, I also want to just speak to the red flag real quick.
Yeah.
My red flag is when I'm looked upon for what I have as opposed to who I am. And it's all you have, and you hear oh, he got this kind of car, oh, he wear this, man, he always groomed up. It's like, that's cool, and I appreciate that. Thanks, I worked hard for that. But who am I, though? Because you didn't explore who I am. You don't understand the value that I hold.